All right, so I did between I'm very interested in your answers. Of course, I won't get to see them yet, but I'm very interested to see because what it is. Let's talk about it. But before we go there, I did figure out how to put the cement on the same one, same line. It was because that CSS needed to be about 700. So that made it easy. And then, of course, this bugged me. So I had to go, and this is probably not the best of ideas, but I'm just going to drag that down into here and then put it there. And actually let my formatter kind of tell me, oh, okay, it liked it there. It was cool. And then it looked a little better. Then it made me want to, CSS styling, you just can continue on and on. It's crazy. Okay, back here. Now, you committed on that last one. And by the way, I did write the commit message inside of here, right? So mileage form, right? Form HTML for that one, and then mileage form here. So in this case, right, first thing we want to do, and this is one, let's just do this because so if you already guessed, you call the track mileage, absolutely, right? The track. So what we're going to do inside of here we're going to call track MPG. Now the question is, how do we reference, right? What was here the value, but we know now is going to be inside whatever is in here because we've already seen, right? I've already shown you here how to do it. I've shown you how to do it using the form, right, up here. And then I showed you in the event listener itself, okay, how to do it. So we're going to do it like kind of traditionally you do it. So well, I could specify. I'll do it the kind of what I would call the not pretty way, as I do e.target dot miles dot value because that's my first. Remember my first positioning when I call this is miles, right? So then that will become miles when it's passed into the function. So e.target dot gallons dot value dot those are dots. And by the way, we're about to learn about what these dots mean. It's all about objects. E dot target dot price. Oh, this helps when you do target, right? Dot price. So now I have the three variables I need. Okay. And before I do this, actually, this is going to create an error. And the reason it's going to create an error is what I said before, where by default, the form in the HTML is expecting some kind of server side functionality. And because we're not writing or calling that server side script, like if you were to have action here, you saw it on the default, like when you do form and you create, there's an action there. That action is referencing a script that's out on the server. We're not going there. Hopefully, I get to teach Node.js and we'll do that in sometime in the future. But for today, okay, in order to prevent that default behavior, because by default, the HTML thinks you're going to call a server script, and we're not going to, so we do e.prevent default. And just that line alone will prevent the standard default. And matter of fact, let me just show you. You don't have to do this, but let me just show you. By just putting that in, actually, let's do this. Let's get rid of this because this came from before. I'm pretty sure this will happen. Right, nothing happens. No change to the URL, which is good. We don't want things to be on because they're easy to sniff. I'm just going to tell you that. Okay, so that's good. That prevent does that for us. And now, if I uncomment this out, then what I can say is, let's say I had 300 miles, 10 gallons, $4, and oh, I have a little bit of a problem. Not a number. Any guesses? Did I miss something? I did? Let's go troubleshoot. Actually, I thought I knew what it was, but I guess I don't. So let's go troubleshoot here when I call it. This is a perfect troubleshooting situation. And by the way, I can hit submit again. Later, I'll show you how to clear those fields. You want to do that. So we got e.target.miles.value. Oh, yes. Yes, that's because when we pass it in, remember I was talking about this before? That's why it's not a number. Okay? That's why it's coming out here is because it is a string. So how do we fix that? Right? How do we fix that? And it's something called parse int. There's other ways to do it. Actually, in the form, I believe we can do it as well, but in code, we can do it just using parse int, where we pass in a value or a string and it will give us the number. So because we also have to run that for each one, I'm also going to do this. I'm going to say const miles equals, okay, parse. There's better ways to do this, but it doesn't matter. Parse int, okay, and then I'm going to grab this value right here. I'm just going to put it up there. Cool. And then I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to copy this line. Okay. I'm going to do the same thing for gallons. So we'll do gallons. Parse in. I don't have to write it again. It'll be gallons. This to me is a little, it's clearer. It's cleaner. I like it. Makes more sense to me. Makes my brain happier when I read it because, well, although I don't really love the parcent so much, but okay, I'll get over that. So this then will price, okay? And now what we can come down here and do, right, is we can then pass in those locally scoped variables of miles. Now, interesting, right? It's not, I'm not calling it miles because of that. Just FYI, okay? This is locally scoped to this function, this callback function, callback on the event listener and price. Let's see if this fixes our code. Okay, so let's do 300. And by the way, that refresh is what cleared those fields. Okay, 10 and $6 because dang it, gas is expensive. Oh, that is awesome, right? Did you get a feeling of accomplishment there? Right? Did you get a feeling of accomplishment there? That's my question. Okay, so here's what I want you to do. In your own, right? So now that we've written this, right? Actually, no. Well, I'm tempted to say go write some code on your own, but I'm actually thinking in week 9, we're going to do all project work to where I have you come up with a concept that you write from the beginning, what we've kind of done here, but with your own topics and your own functions and all that. So maybe you can give me some input here, but I want you to, in your README file, because I have a couple things in there already, is like, how did this make sense? And if not, right, if it did, cool, say, yes, I completely understood it. If you have questions about this code, I want you to ask me. But, it also helps, and I saw somebody write this in a comment today. They just play around with the code after watching and following along with me because it was helpful for them to gain more knowledge to do that. Again, there are different ways we could have approached this. This is a very simple, what I feel is a straightforward way of writing one of the most important things we have, which is an event listener, because we're listening for events on the page. We only wrote one, which was a submit. There are many more out there. You could definitely go research that and play around with other ways you could, play around with this code. So I think I will have you, create a new folder here and name it, right? Playing around, user input, playing around. How about that? First, commit this code. Commit this code that you did here. Create a new folder called playing around. And in that folder, come up with some ways you could change this code, right? So we'll call it 016 playing around with user input, maybe, or just playing around. Playing around seems not good. Playing around with forms. How about that? Playing 016, playing around with forms, and then do some of your own coding here. See how you could change this. The more you change this, the better experience that is for you. Okay. And then commit that. So first commit this code that we have here, then create your new folder, copy all this stuff from 15 into that 16, playing with forms, and then change this code. Come up with something new. How about thinking about how different ways you could, instead of mileage, what could you do? right? And then if you were to change it from mileage to something else, start seeing if you could figure out the code to do that. Come ask me for help if you need. This will be the last one in this first assignment because we've done quite a bit for this first one. All right, I'll talk to you later.